It appears both the stability of Julian Casablancas when given a platform to speak publicly, as well as my patience for his painfully awkward antics are dwindling at an alarming rate, and I would be absolutely ecstatic to save the bee's population if it meant letting go of either. But often when I see him say something utterly foolish, I cringe the strongest because most of all, I almost kind of feel the process that's going on in his mind. That feeling when you have all the attention on you, and the most that you can do in an awkward situation is say or do the most asinine things in an attempt to distract from the fact that there is a complete dysfunction in your social chemistry. Of course, Julian Casablancas' recent interview where he implied very sternly and with an almost tragic amount of confidence that Jimi Hendrix was somehow an underappreciated musician during his time was close to an extreme version of this. Amazingly, in the musical world, while his extremely underrated and absolutely never heard of before band The Strokes have had an unfortunate run of hit or miss material as of late, Casablancas actually has a really good buzz going with the Voidz, a new project that decides to take on whatever style the Strokes don't do, and just for a spot of fun, for the lols, just go for it. The result is two very well crafted, if wild LPs that get a strong emotional reaction out of me and leave my heart skipping more beats than either record thinks that it can jam into a song from its track listing. While Tyranny is certainly the weirder, wilder, and potentially more dangerous album, Virtue takes the fuzzy, eclectic cyberpunk ethos and tries to get poppy, with somewhat satisfying results. Yeah, I can't joke too much, honestly. For all I had to comment about Casablancas outside of his music, the madman can actually write a good song, and his band can make it sound like pop music blaring from a radio station in a post-apocalyptic suburb. And yet describing that doesn't quite put to words all the different styles and sounds the Voidz have to smuggle into the recording studio. While everything is drenched in a lo-fi fuzziness and is whooping with crazed synthesizers like a melodic grey gun of sorts, each song offers a new style, leaving you wondering what odd path the band is skipping down next. While the opening track as well as others like Wink sound as comfy as jangly indie pop with a clean and familiar guitar timbre, these moments are interspersed with tracks like the lead single QYURRYUS, so scorched in a Middle Eastern influence. As well as the track ALieNNatioN, which bumps so cold with a hip-hop type beat that lures me into its rat trap thanks to that creepy but cool whistle. There's an unsettling but subtle air of anguish on Permanent High School, and I think it's in the way that Casablancas sings the chorus with such desperation as if he's just been stabbed in the gut. The song also features the line, "Just because something is popular doesn't make it good." He may as well be painting a giant red X on his face next to multiple glowing neon arrow signs saying, "Criticize me!" I was particularly smitten by the track All Words Are Made Up, which is so inspired by synth funk and African beat music. I almost thought I was listening to a QYURRYUS cover. Could have fooled me. The final track, the poignant slow jam Pointlessness that closes the album out, was beautiful in a crushingly sad kind of way, with waves of synth washing over me and a last minute crash of all the pent up anguish that the band seemed to have inside them but never let out. The issue here is not only the album's inconsistency but also how languid it feels a lot of the time. I don't always feel the urgency it's trying to accomplish, and so instead my hopes fall on whether the song is just a good song. And because so often said song is trying to make itself a bizarre spectacle with robotic vocal filters and fuzzy hypnagogic audio compression or whatever, there's some enjoyment to be had, but I find myself merely plodding along the track listing during an unfortunate amount of its second half. The tracks Pink Ocean and Black Hole just really seems so empty and unfulfilling. Where We Were sounds unfinished, and at the end we hear these scattered atonal guitar notes at a high frequency, and it doesn't automatically make it sound glitchy and quirky, but sometimes makes it sound even more sparse and awkward than the preceding 3 minutes. These problems aren't even just exclusive to the second half. Even back at the start, the crunchy cock rock roaring of Pyramid of Bones sounds far too scant and lethargic to contain even half the energy it totally wants to channel. And while a lot of the pleasant poppier songs like its opening and Wink act as nice refreshers, it's very obvious that they were Strokes leftovers just given a new desktop wallpaper. For an album that seems to be rather surreal with the way that its titles are written, let alone its lyrics, I can appreciate the charming amount of thoughts put into songs like the acoustic ballad Think Before You Drink. But to be entirely honest, with the way our man here, Casablancas, croons and slurs his lyrics, I don't particularly think they are the crux of what I may want to compliment about Virtue. It's an album making most of its racket through the music and the sounds, and for a good chunk of it, it is succeeding, even if with several bruises and an inflated ego. 6 out of 10.